third era back at it again. All right. So I wanted to do a little bit of a update and have a discussion. Just sitting here in the office, out in the garage. Got so much crap all put up, with everything that's going on right now in the in the U.S. with that corona and all that stuff. Let's see if I can turn this around. There we go. So, yeah, man, it's been a long haul for my job and just what I do every day. It's been tough, with everything that's going on. It's it's just kind of you don't know what's gonna happen the next day, or you're gonna be working a lot or not. Freaking ring fell off my finger. But I wanted to show you guys some tips and tricks for for this next episode of dbDRA series. So I wanted to get a little bit more specific. I don't want to chase anybody away with terminology and putting people to sleep. But this is a beginner's guide, but I want to be thorough, and so I'll talk about some of the things that I think that people kind of let go by the wayside when they're thinking about getting loud and thinking of competing in dbDRA or Mecca or USACI or whatever you're competing in. You can implement these things in each one of those. So quick moment, let me show you what little find I got. This is a little found this in when I was going to Walmart to get some random stuff. With the coronavirus going on, I was kind of just getting some random stuff just because I knew I would need it, like seasonings and stuff, just in case Walmart gets shut down or something later on. But look what I found in the hobby section. So these are wooden dowels, right? You got 16 pack, 3/16 inch, bigger ones. It's a 10 pack, 3/8. Now, you're probably wondering, what the hell are those for? Well, every now and again, you might drill a hole in something. You need to fill it up, and instead of doing the old, get some tight bond in your MDF dust, some people don't use MDF, so instead of making some type of wood filler, you could literally just drill your hole out to match this size and go through both sides of it and glue it, and then you could trim off the edges and sand it, and it'd be a perfect seal and be a little bit more rigid. And so I'm willing to test it out and try it out and see if it works. Every now and again, when I'm putting in my ports and stuff, especially, I like to drill that and countersink the holes. And sometimes you go too far, and you have to seal a hole up. So these are only $1.98. So to have that many little dowels, I thought it was a pretty cool little find. So check that out in the Walmart. Okay, so let's see, which one do I want to grab? Where's my book at? These are just my testing results. I have my notes somewhere. You know what? I'm just gonna go off the top of the head. Okay. So, one of the things that people forget when they're doing a system is that it's a system. And by system, I'm talking an overall process that works together. So, your woofer works through the enclosure, that works through the vehicle, that works in tangent with your power, and to some extent, your environmental, humidity and cold and all that stuff plays a factor, and some people always make fun of people that say, oh, it's such and such temperature outside, so I'm going to need to, and they actually think that, they're just BSing that they don't think that it could change, but it can change. I test usually when I'm coming out of the trunk for like the blow through, it does like 38 to 42 is where I could be somewhere in there. And I try to build my boxes for like 4 frequencies of play that I'm going to be under with my power. Just because with weather and how it changes, I want to have a little bit of play. Now, you won't be as loud. I could probably gain a tenth or maybe even a half a dB if I was just go straight out for that one note, but you're not always going to play that one note. And then to try to play a different frequency in a box, it's, I've just always tried to get a 4 hertz to maybe even 6 hertz sometimes of playroom from where you think that your peak needs to be at. We'll go through some more stuff inside the car so I can explain a little bit of the cabin features that you need to look out for when you are prepping to build your enclosure. But one of the main things for sure is, anybody that has a trunk setup, and say you have a trunk that has a blow through armrest, like that folds down, or you the type of person that folds the seat down whenever you listen to your system in the trunk, or maybe you have both seats fold down, or none of your seats fold down, but you have like some 6x9 holes in the back, or so. In essence, depending on how, what's the best way to say this, based on the structural integrity of the actual trunk, some trunks could have a lot of openings that are sizes like bigger than a fist that are letting air pass through to get into the car. And in essence, it's not really acting like a sealed enclosure, the trunk, even if the seats are all the way up. But it's not acting like a ported enclosure either, because there's not a dedicated way where all the air is rushing through one spot, because that's where it's most efficient, and it has enough length on it to give it an actual, like an impedance curve where you'll actually see a dip and a peak based on that opening. So if I kind of got you confused, let me bring it back together. So in essence, if for my car, so say I had my trunk, which is like 15.7 cubes, just the trunk, if nothing's in there. And then when you start adding in, your enclosure and your batteries and, just for example, I have do I have it right here? Oh, you can't see it. But I have like a 2 cube enclosure that I usually use as a Burt box, 2.2 or something. But in my other car that I had a cube, and just from testing, I remember I threw that in my Avalon, and with that box in there and like a battery and all that, it came somewhere around 10 cubes. 10.1 was what was left over. So depending on how well your trunk is sealed off, mine is pretty well sealed. So my opening of that armrest actually acts as a port. It acts as a chamber. The actual trunk then, in essence, would be working in tangent with your regular ported box, and both of them together, that would make a 6th order series bandpass. So in essence, you have your ported enclosure that's firing into a chamber, and that is ported and firing into your cabin. So with that 10 cubes or 10.1 cubes of extra space I had left over on top of my other box, which was, I think it was ported 29, somewhere around there, 28 maybe. And then you add in, that opening, it was a 13x8 for that 10.1 or 10.17 cubes or whatever. It came out to like 42 or 43. So this is what I've learned with 6th order series bandpass enclosures in my experience. Now everybody's might be different, but this is the experience I've had. They work together, each portion of it. And it actually works together in a way that a lot of people probably don't know that it's working. And now that I got my Magnum, my Term Lab, I can actually show some concrete data to show people that you're probably not tuned where you think you're tuned to, but nowadays people aren't really even, they don't care what the number is they're tuned to. They just do it wherever it's loudest, which, more power to you on doing it in that method. But to try to get to that part of getting as close to where you want to get to be optimized. So in essence, say I had this, 2.2 cube, 29 hertz box, and I threw it in that trunk that was 10.17 cubes to 43. Now that port that is coming out of that 2.2 enclosure is actually getting lengthened a little bit to where that tuning actually drops down a little bit. And the tuning of the front chamber, the big opening, that one kind of drops down a little bit. So if you cut the one in the back and make it a shorter to try thinking you're going to raise your frequency up, you're actually doing the same exact thing to the front side. So you can never really try to lower one side and not affect the other side. So no matter what, if whatever you do to one side, it's gonna affect your front chamber, your loading wall, or the front portion of your sixth order from the trunk, making it an enclosure, or making it a chamber. So for some reason in that vehicle, no matter what you're really tuned to, I say you could probably tune somewhere between like 28 and 35. And if your enclosure, the actual, how big it is, isn't much more than netting 2 to 2.5, that trunk, no matter what, if you have the armrest down, it peaks at 42. Now, that's from a lot of testing of, okay, why is that? Why if I drop this down, to 28, why is it still hitting at 42? Then if I raise it to 35 and then it's still hitting at 42, one, it could be the vehicle itself, like the rest of the cabin inside, beyond just that armrest being a chamber now. And where I meter at, I meter on the dash. So that lengthen of the wave, we're going to get into this in another topic, but, like a standing wave versus the type of build you're doing. Like if you're metering in the kick with the door open, you're going to build it differently than somebody that does sealed on the dash. So hopefully I'm not losing anybody yet. I know I talk fast, but I don't want this video to get huge and long. So to wrap it back all up, if you're a beginner and you have a trunk car, and maybe you're lucky, maybe your seats could fold all the way down. In my car, I can't fold the seats down. I just have an armrest thing that folds down. But, based on the rules for dbDRA, as long as you're not taking any bolts out, it's not affecting the way that the car could normally run. You can fold your seats down. As long as they fold back up, you're good. So in all of my testing that I've done, I actually had better results when if I took out my whole entire back seat and actually took the bolts out and had it all open. I had better results when I ran a ported enclosure just all the way forward, is basically like what they call a trunk wall. In essence, what I'm doing is I'm cutting out all that space that is the cabin was filled with, and I was cutting down the cabin space, and then I could tune, and I still was hitting at 42. Actually 39 to 41-ish. So just a little bit down from having the trunk. But it was still, there was no gain though. This is what I was trying to get to. So the purpose of deciding where you want to go with what you have to think about, what's the goal? Is your goal just to get as loud as you can? Because then you're going to have to try every method. Is your goal to try to be as stealthy? You want your backseat up every time. You want trunk space. You know what I mean? You might be looking at a rear deck blow through then, in that case, coming out the top through the 6x9 holes that nobody could see. And, you know, you might be running a fourth order blow through in that case. So you want the trunk space, you could throw groceries back there and not hit any subs, and, you know, put a nice like panel in there, do a fourth order blow through. You probably have pretty good results like that, as long as everything's sealed off pretty good. But say you're straight SPL guy and you want it as loud as you can get it. Then you have to come to what's your goals? What are you willing to do to get those goals? And what class are you trying to be in? Because remember how that was the first thing I said was pick a class, then go from there. Because if you start building stuff and you start getting all these different woofers and power and you start going crazy, then before you know it, like, say that I was to gain a half a dB from taking the whole backseat out and doing like a trunk style setup, a trunk wall setup. And, but now I can't do stock 1K anymore because my back seats are out. So no longer am I in stock. That puts me in a whole other class of people that are doing other stuff, that the gains that they're getting and by moving classes, now you're running different equipment than what I have to be optimal at that class level. So like for the stock 1K, you can get away with 212s and, you know, 3K and under. I mean, you could obviously have a bigger amp, more power to you, but I mean, you could still get close to it. Like I can clamp more than 1,000 watts easily just on a 2.4 Brutus. But it's all about trade-offs. It's all about determining what your goal is, because my hardest thing that I have to deal with is how low I'm peaking at, you know, 38 to 42-ish, and only having 1,000 watts to clamp with, and the fact that I'm in a trunk that has an armrest. So there's a lot of things in there that make me want to just jump up into another class and just get a lot more power and get crazy with it. But then again, it's like, man, you know, whatever happened to efficiency? Whatever happened to, like, I watched an old video recently of Ronnie's. I think it was Brett posted it up. But what did you do at 1 watt, you know? And it made me think, like, damn, I've always started testing, like, 500 watts was, like, my low, you know? Like, I've never done, like, extensive testing at, like, 100 watts, like 200 watts, like. So it got me thinking, like, shit, I need to freaking number chase, and I need to test more thoroughly and have a goal in mind, instead of just, I need to be loud. Like, I want to be loud in this situation with these certain aspects, and not change more than one variable at a time when I'm testing. So hopefully I kind of threw some stuff in there to make it come back and you can understand where I'm coming from with all this. Like, I mean, if you're just barely getting into this and you're a beginner, whatever you got at home, man, throw it in your trunk, show up at the show, somebody will let you know what class to get into, and to have some fun, man. Go get some demos from people, let them know you're new, and, you know, this community is awesome. There will be a time when you start itching and you want to not number chase, like that's all you care about, because believe me, I demo my cars for actual real music. You know, I just don't burp, which is also another thing I'm willing to compromise on. It could be a dedicated burp vehicle that all it plays is test tones. It's never going to see music in there. But that's not what I got into this for. You know, I got into this because it was fun, the experience of listening to music, but I like it loud too. And I thought, you know what? Let's see how loud you can get with a musical build in stock 1K in a non-optimal trunk car that peaks below 40, you know, pretty much. It is what it is. I'm hoping to shoot, you know, for mid-40s and be happy with it. I think what was I clamping the other day? I was doing some torture tests on this Brutus amp, just because I'm thinking about putting it in my son's Power Wheels build whenever I want to mess around in that. It got dangerous. It was like 10.2 volts, clamping like 700 watts, like 2 ohms or something. And it was doing more than a 40. It was like 41 or... So I'm just thinking, damn, dude, you know, my goal of hitting the 148 would be a lot easier in my Nissan Cube that's, you know, peaks at 50, and it could be at 50 hertz in the stock 1K class instead of now peaking at 40 hertz in a trunk car. But it's an experience, and it's helping me to learn a lot more and get into more of the everything working together to get to your goal. And you know, that's what it's all about, man. For me, it's about the journey of getting there, not necessarily just that 30 seconds of when I'm in the lane. That's like me finally getting to enjoy all that hard work I've done. But all that hard work I've done was worth it. You know, that's like the journey for me. I know this video is getting long, so I'm going to try to cut it here. But let me show you some stuff I have coming up. So, have the tweeters here that I'm going to be putting in with some more 6.5. I have a couple spots that I wanted to fill. There's some grommets that are in my car that are in the spare tire area that kind of flimsy. So I'm going to put like a plasticness down and spray on top of it and get it to seal around the grommet without touching the grommet, because I don't want to foam the grommet in there, but I want to foam this plastic down on top of the grommet, if that makes sense. Oh, you saw it, a little sneak peek of the Sega over there. Oh shit, okay, don't want to show it off too much. What else do we got going? Can't reveal what's going on under there yet, but stay tuned for that. What else we got over here? That is the G Power Wheels right there. Don't want to show that off yet either. Oh my gosh, look at my bone pile, dude. Look how many times I've freaking cut holes. Like, it's ridiculous. And then got some more 6-inch over there. Getting ready to throw something together for a sneak peek it for you. Oh yeah, see, look at this. I buy noodles whenever I'm testing and sealing off the blow through. I mean, it works. You could shape it how you want. It's only $1 at Walmart. Focus, baby. All right. You see that PG? Can you see that PG? Yeah. All right, so that's a cool little down firing box that I messed around with. Let's see if you can see it. It's too dark over here. My lighting's horrible. I'll show that in the next vid. But all right, man. Well, this is the third era. About to be out. See what time it is. It's getting late already. There's a clock on here. It is 7:54 p.m. on a Saturday. Man, I've been out here for like 2 hours and I've done a 20-minute video. Wifey's gonna love that. Well, I appreciate you guys watching, man. You know.